Hey gang, welcome to the Midnight Company Productions. We have a quick little bonus video for you, our favorite films, our top 10 favorite films of the 2010s.
Of the decade!
Whoa! It was a great decade for movies, and we just wanted to share a couple of our favorites with you really quick.
I actually had some honorable mentions. Did you have any?
I've got a couple.
Okay, I won't spend a lot of time with them, but ones that didn't quite make my top 10, but, like, I love too much to, like, completely disregard. The Witch, Devil's Candy.
The Witch didn't make your top 10?
Surprisingly, like, if I had to cut something, it ended up being one of the ones I cut.
Wow.
Devil's Candy, Get Out, and What We Do in the Shadows.
Those are all really fucking amazing movies.
I know. Like, I love them so much. I feel like they should be there, like, side by side with the other ones, but they didn't quite make it.
I only have, like, three I want to talk about. The Conjuring was one for me. Annihilation was amazing. And then also 10 Cloverfield Lane, which Dan Trachtenberg directed. Not necessarily a horror film. Maybe it is. A lot of people would consider it one, but super fun movie.
I also know, did you put your favorite on the list, or did it not make the cut because it's not quite horror?
My very, very favorite film of the decade? No, I didn't.
He has to say it.
My favorite film of the decade was, of course, Mad Max Fury Road. Masterpiece. That's all I have to say about
it. I think that probably is, like, his favorite movie ever.
Number 10 for me is the Mike Flanagan early film Oculus. I love the mythology behind this film. I love the mythology behind The Mirror. Super creepy, small, but effective.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great movie. It didn't make my list, but I think it was, like, Flanagan's kind of, like, first, like, you know, what's up?
It's like, hey, I'm here. Check
it
out.
It is a great movie. My number 10 is Piranha 3D.
Aja, okay.
It came out on my birthday the year it came out, and we snuck 4 Locos into the theater.
Whoa.
For me, it's, like, the perfect summer horror movie. Like, I actually love putting it on at, like, pool parties because, you know, you're in the water and there's fish eating people. It has fucking Ving Rhames. It has Christopher Lloyd.
My girl loves Ving Rhames.
I love Ving Rhames. Oh, yeah, and you get to see Eli Roth being a total bro and getting fucking destroyed. Not sad about that.
Number 9 for me is The Killing of a Sacred Deer, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. Really creepy film that really gets under your skin. Super weird performances from Colin Farrell and Nicole Kidman. Alicia Silverstone's in it. Really weird, unsettling movie. And those are my favorite kind of movies. The one that just make you feel uncomfortable and just really, like, you don't belong there.
It felt kind of like a biblical story to me.
Absolutely.
That was a fucked up movie. Number 9 for me is DEATHGASM.
Good one. Black metal.
Black metal as fuck. I think
Lots of dicks and dildos.
There's also boobs.
There are.
There's boobs. There's Immortal and Cannibal Corpse on the soundtrack. I think it's really fun. It's really gory. I never get sick of watching that movie.
Number 8 for me is Midsommar. If you watched our top films of 2019, you'll know that this is one of my favorite movies of the year. Really, another one that's just super unsettling. Makes your skin crawl sometimes.
Number 8 for me is Hereditary. So actually, we're both on sync with some Ari Aster. This movie's kind of a game changer. Real fucking dark performances.
Oh, so
like
dark.
Toni Collette, forever.
Oscar.
Never
Needed
forget.
that Oscar. Well, to piggyback right off you, my number 7 was Hereditary. I echo the comments. Hereditary is a movie. It is a dark movie. It's a feel-bad movie. You're not going to come away from that feeling good about anything, but it's a triumph of cinema. It's beautiful. This film is gorgeous from top to bottom. Definitely worth your time.
Number 7 for me, and it kind of stretches the lines of horror, but Paranorman. I saw this in theaters and just fell in love. I make this guy watch it all the time. I had Paranorman slippers. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I cry every single time I watch that movie.
In a good way, though.
In a good way.
Happy tears.
And it also has the first openly gay animated character in it, which was really cool and really progressive for the time.
There you go. Number 6 for me is Jordan Peele's breakout fucking masterpiece, Get Out. This movie is unstoppable. It's going to stick around. It's going to be watched and enjoyed and analyzed as long as movies are still being watched and enjoyed and analyzed. What a great film. What a great societal commentary. Jordan Peele knocking it out of the park with his first directorial debut.
And who really saw it coming? Like, you know, he was the guy on a comedy show, like a sketch comedy show, and here he does, like, his first, like, solo movie is an Oscar-winning one, or at least
nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, it's incredible. It didn't quite make my top 10, but it's right there. My number 6 film is Stoker by Chan Park-wook.
Stoker is an amazing film. Mia Wasikowska? Is that how you say it?
I'm in love with her.
Nicole Kidman. That to me almost feels like a movie that's similar to Killing of a Sacred Deer in that the characters act in a sort of otherworldly way, but it's such a gorgeous film.
It's really, really beautiful. And it's like one of those, like, sort of coming of age movies where, you know, I mean, obviously in a really fucked up way, but I love it. It's beautiful. It's one of those movies that really made me want to be a director.
Number 5 for me is Jeremy Saulnier's Green Room. You can ask this lady right here. I love a good rock and roll movie that's about music and live shows. Green Room hits all the notes for me. It's brutal. It's in your face. It's punk rock. It'll fuck you up.
My number 5 is The Conjuring. To me, this is like a masterpiece of haunted house horror. It scared the shit out of me. Like, a friend of mine, Joe Bishara, played the, like, creepy ghost lady, and I told him, I was like, I'm terrified you're in my closet or under my bed. Like, it scared me, and I was, like, you know, an adult. I love a movie that makes me feel that way, and James Wan continually does that, and I think this is, like, he, like, set the gold bar standard for haunted house movies.
Great movie. Number 4 for me is Mandy, directed by Panos Cosmatos. It has...
Number 4 for me is Mandy by Panos Cosmatos. Yeah.
Great high five.
Oh, no, we should try that again.
Okay. Mandy, for me, is a film that pretty much defined my 2018 and 2019. I absolutely adored that movie. Every choice, the director... Every choice every crew member made on that movie was the right one. Nick Cage is off the wall, maxed out Nick Cage, and I love it.
KG at the cagiest.
KG at the cagiest. We had a lot of bonding over this movie, too. You and I personally, we listened to the soundtrack a lot. And
when we first started dating, yeah, it was like the anthem of our relationship.
Yeah. What else can we say about Mandy? It's a beautiful film. The grittiness of it. The surreality of it, it checks all the boxes. It's amazing.
Like, cinematically, like, you deserve to see this on a big screen if you're going to see it at some point in your life. It is so beautiful. It like, stops your breath. Like, I remember I actually was lucky enough to go to the LA premiere, and, like, I remember when, like, Panos came out, just, like, standing up and clapping and, like, crying, because I was like, this man is, like, oh my god, I'm gonna, like...
Aww.
He is, like, the most artistic, beautiful filmmaker. Like, everything that comes out of him is magic. And I cannot wait to see what he does next.
Yep. Number 3 for me is The Final Girls, not to be confused with The Final Girl. Don't watch that movie.
Oh, that one's
You want to
bad.
watch The Final Girls, plural. Malin Ackerman, Tasia Farmiga. I don't know how you say that name.
Andrew Ludwig.
Yep. He was also in The Final Girl, which is a whole
guy.
weird situation. The Final Girls is a movie I guess in 2019 we say I've been standing it for a long time. I love that movie. The moment I saw it, I went to a screening at the Vista in Los Feliz. And I had no idea what it was going into it. My friend took me, and I had no expectation of what the movie was or what it was about. And when they go into that movie screen, my mind was blown, like, because I knew right then and there they were gonna, like, be in this 80s slasher movie, and it's a beautiful deconstruction of the whole genre, and it's super funny and super heartfelt, and just a really beautiful, in a strange way, a beautifully powerful movie.
It is. It's such a touching movie, and I remember reading that the writer's father is Jason Miller from The Exorcist, who actually was, like, you know, a horror legend, and he was dead at this point. So it's, like, about his dead father, really, that makes it that much more, like...
It's poignant.
Yeah, very heart-touching, very tragic, but beautiful. I want to add that to my honorable mentions list as well.
Okay.
My number 3 is The Woman in Black, the remake with Daniel Radcliffe. I really, really loved this movie. It's so beautiful. Like, when I think about the idea of maybe myself directing a haunted house movie at some point in my life, I think about the way they did the ghosts in this. Like, she's so scary because she's, like, actually on set. Like, you just see her, like, come out of a shadow. Like, it's so unnerving. And it was Daniel Radcliffe's first choice, like, his first movie after the Harry Potter series, which is crazy that he's like, yeah, I've done these kid movies, like, my entire life, but now let's go do a Hammer horror film.
Yeah. Great encapsulation of what a Hammer horror film is.
It really is. I love it, and I wish the sequel was as good.
Number 2 for me is The Babadook, directed by Jennifer Kent. Her first time directing a feature film. This movie impacted me emotionally. What a fantastic movie. I love the mythology around the film is amazing. The book, you know, the design of the Babadook monster, all of that stuff, and how he's sort of like different every time you see him. I really loved everything that went into this movie stylistically, and that's what's number 2.
Number 2 for me is I Saw the Devil, a really brilliant Korean horror movie that's about revenge. And, like, there's a scene in this movie where the killer gets in a car with 2 guys and he starts just, like, shanking them. They all start, like, stabbing each other, and the camera goes around the car as they're all doing this, and the car's out of control. And that was one of those things for me, like, as a filmmaker, where my mind was blown. Like, I just stood up in the theater and just started clapping, like, out of nowhere, like, looking like a crazy person, because I was just so blown away by this. And the acting is incredible, and I think it's, like, the first time my first entry into Korean horror movies, and now I'm a huge fan of pretty much all the directors coming out of there right now.
So we've arrived at number 1.
Number
Our number
one.
1 film, horror films of the 2010s decade. Mine, of course, It Follows. It Follows, to me, is a masterpiece. What David Robert Mitchell did with that movie was incredible. I think he had sort of a deconstruction of, you know, your typical horror film. And it is your sort of straightforward horror film, but from an aesthetic point of view, that movie is next level, from the visuals to, you know, it heavily references, I think, a lot of John Carpenter stuff from Halloween, which is, you know, pretty obvious. But the soundtrack, this may be the only movie I've ever seen where I actually like the soundtrack more than the movie. I jam that soundtrack so often and so many times, and I met Richard Vreeland and I met David Robert Mitchell at some record store downtown, and they signed my It Follows record. Love that movie, love that soundtrack. Highest recommendation. If you haven't seen it, you need to take the time, shut off this stupid video, and go watch It Follows. Visually, there's so many amazing, like, classical things they do. Like, Micah Monroe's character, Jay, her color in that movie is pink. She's got pink everything. She's got pink underwear, pink clothes, pink everything. That's sort of her color thematically, and I love that. And, you know, we haven't even talked about, you know, what water represents in that movie, how, you know, water is her, in my opinion, my theory is that water is Jay's, like, sort of safe place, and by the end of the movie, you know, you've got the monster attacking her in the water, and all of that just sort of came together and just made, like, the best movie ever.
My number 1 is Green Room. I actually grew up, like, in the, like, Boston hardcore punk scene. I know that the director Jeremy Saulnier also grew up in that area, in that community. So it's like a filmmaker who actually knew about punk rock making a movie about punk rock, and I am a huge fan of Anton Yelchin. May he rest in peace. Like, I thought I was so excited to see this director who I really look up to, because, you know, I don't read about Saulnier. You can read lots of articles about, like, him self-funding his first few films and, like, really earning, like, this movie to get made. So I was standing this before I even saw it. Like, my favorite actor with this, you know, director that I really respect, and I loved it so much. I saw this movie in theaters at least 5 times. Like, I was so picky about it. Like, I was at AMC and went to, 5 minutes in, like, I go out to the guy at the customer service. I'm like, excuse me, I think your bulb is dim in your projector. And, like, made them give me extra tickets because they didn't look exactly perfect.
Beautiful.
I love the story. I've actually been in situations where I've ended up at like shows in like Worcester, Massachusetts that were definitely like very white power and being like, how the fuck do I get out of here? And it's a scary feeling because, you know, it's a place in this world that it actually exists where, you know, the cops aren't going to get there fast enough if anything goes wrong, and violence is really part of that culture, and it's scary. And the movie had me on like the edge of my seat the entire time. I loved it.
That's it. That's our best and favorite movies of the 2010s. If you agree or disagree, make sure you leave us a comment.
Yeah, we would love to know what your favorite movies of the 2010s were. There's so many that didn't make it on our list that are so good.
Make sure you like the video and subscribe, and we will see you in 2020. We got a bunch of great new videos coming at you.